Our tale begins with a slave trader. It was just another day at the office, or so he thought, until a shadowy couple appeared. They weren't your typical window shoppers. In a shocking twist, they weren't looking to buy, but to sell their own baby. Even a slave trader has standards. He flat out refused questioning if they were even parents. Just then, a bejeweled hand reached out. Another customer wanted the infant. This new buyer was a nobleman, Darius Robert, a connoisseur of talent for his grand arena. The baby changed hands, the couple disappeared, and Darius readied his carriage. The trader mused on the sheer audacity a newborn destined for the arena. Unthinkable. From Darius's perspective, his singular obsession was finding the ultimate champion. For him, the logic was simple. Stronger fighters meant bigger crowds and overflowing coffers. Darius scoffed. Most slaves were too weak for his grand designs. But then he appeared a warrior of unmistakable general-level caliber. The sheer presence of this warrior Glenn sent shivers down the nobleman's spine. Pure power. Darius's eyes gleamed with a singular thought: this was the true warrior he craved. Yet the unthinkable happened. This titan of a man was selling his own child. Darius's mind reeled, struggling to comprehend the bizarre turn of events. Without hesitation, he bought the infant and cast it into the unforgiving arena. His champion Glenn received a new tiny charge with promises of grand rewards for success. Glenn, now a reluctant guardian, grimly predicted the infant wouldn't last a week. Indeed, this grim, unforgiving pit was no place for a newborn. Against all odds, amidst the grim remnants of the pit, the child Ryan clung to life. More than just surviving, he devoured every scrap, fueled by an insatiable will to live. Glenn, witnessing this tenacity, felt an unfamiliar stirring, a genuine desire to nurture this extraordinary infant. Astoundingly, if Glenn taught him one lesson, the child would grasp two. A prodigy in the making. Left to his own devices, the little warrior would independently discover new skills, his curiosity boundless. Relentlessly, Ryan grew forged in the crucible of the arena until he could carve his own path. His guardian Glenn found the boy's thoughts becoming an enigma, a mind he could no longer fathom. However, Ryan's first true arena battle would reveal everything. Glenn watched with bated breath. Stepping into the ring, the youth Ryan unleashed an overwhelming presence, pure, unadulterated combat instinct. Glenn stared, utterly transfixed. This was the most flawless display of fighting prowess he had ever witnessed. Glenn's eye widened. This boy's skill wasn't taught. It was innate, something terrifyingly primal. He didn't just fight. He became the arena a maelstrom of pure, unadulterated combat. Standing amidst the fallen, Glenn pondered if this youth was even human. More seasons turned, and Glenn himself faced a brutal, desperate struggle in the ring. His strength finally waning. The old warrior met his fated end. A new challenger victorious. But as the victor gloated, a blur of motion, Ryan, now a young man, charged into the fray. Through fading vision, the champion witnessed the true nature of the child he'd nurtured. No boy, but a terrifying force of nature, a shadow of vengeance with eyes ablaze. The arena floor now held three figures: the fallen Glenn, his vanquisher, and Ryan standing over both. Thus the tale of a child twice abandoned, now alone, with the one who raised him silent in the dust. Nevertheless, the child, now a man, endured, forged into adulthood, within the arena's harsh embrace. Destiny beckoned. An event loomed that would finally draw him beyond the familiar blood-stained sands. A shifty senior Dorian led him to a den of wagers where chips were flying and fortunes hung in the balance. "Senior, what is this place?" Our hero, Ryan, questioned as his guide urged him onward with a sly grin. His eyes narrowed. This wasn't just any arena, but an illegal gambling den risking serious trouble. Dorian scoffed. "You rigid bookworm, this is where noblemen legally pit their fighters. A proper competition, such a coward. Hurry up." Dorian prodded, eager to get his companion into the thick of it. Ryan's boots echoed on the stone, each step heavy with his reluctance to enter the shady establishment. "No," he declared. "I came to the academy for knowledge, not to compromise my principles here." With resolve, he stated, "I'm returning to school. My tuition is due today." Dorian dangled a familiar-looking pouch. "What this?" He smirked, coins clinking within. Ryan's eyes flared wide as a sudden chilling realization dawned upon him. He recoiled in disbelief, the senior's audacity sending him reeling. "Hold on," Ryan demanded. "When did you grab my tuition money?" "My money," Ryan roared, spotting it on the gambling table. "Relax, kid." Dorian waved dismissively. "Once the bet's down, it's game on." Pointing to two hefty bags among the chips, he declared, "See, I even threw in my own tuition." With a sly grin, Dorian added, "Now we just have to watch our fortunes unfold, don't we?" Ryan seethed inwardly, lamenting how this reckless senior had dragged his hard-earned tuition into a gambling den. Memories of his father's pride surfaced, a man who had taught him integrity, not barbarism. His adoring sister's voice echoed, "Big brother is the best," a stark contrast to his current predicament. He remembered his mother's sacrifices, her words of apology and gratitude echoing in his mind. Desperately, he prayed for his tuition's safety, vowing this recklessness would be his last. A steely glint in his eye, he swore to sever ties with that deceitful senior for good. Meanwhile, Dorian, ever so nonchalant, gave a thumbs up, ready for the fun to begin. Their destination was a grim arena bristling with sharpened stakes under flickering torchlight. This pit, open to the sky, was clearly designed for brutal, unforgiving contests. Oblivious to his friend's turmoil, Dorian offered a casual, "Cheer up," as they watched. An announcer stepped forward, grandly presenting the first combatant. From the harsh northern lands, once a plunderer, now a slave. This warrior has been given a new chance at glory by his master. Behold the Deathbringer. A newcomer ready to make his brutal debut with a spiked cudgel. The crowd roared their bloodlust, ignited by the Deathbringer's fearsome introduction. "Wow, he looks so damn fierce," Dorian remarked, clearly enjoying the spectacle. Rayon, however, found it even more horrific than anticipated, his stomach churning. The grim evidence of past battles, stains on the arena's unforgiving stakes, told a brutal story. The very air reeked of previous contests, a grim reminder of the den's true purpose. "I feel like throwing up," Rayon muttered. "Why are we watching this?" With a sick feeling in his gut, he asked, "So did we bet on that Deathbringer?" "No, he's coming now," Dorian replied coolly. "We bet on Happy Face." "Happy Face? That doesn't sound strong at all," Rayon fretted, but Dorian simply said, "You'll see." "And next," boomed the announcer, ready to introduce the next challenger to the pit. Rayon mused. "Happy Face, is that some kind of twisted joke, or does he have a monstrous grin?" The announcer, with a flourish, confirmed the crowd's anticipation. The audience erupted a sea of faces chanting, "Happy, happy," with unnerving glee. Rayon found the whole scene bizarre, the crowd's fervor completely baffling. His eyes widened, trying to make sense of the spectacle unfolding before him. And there he was, Runan, a young lad with a genuinely beaming, innocent smile. Rayon was utterly floored, a cascade of question marks popping into existence above his head. He was momentarily stunned into silence by this unexpected reveal. Through the bars, he saw the imposing Deathbringer already in the arena, awaiting this Happy Face. Adding to the absurdity, Runan stood there completely unarmed with no gear whatsoever. He stood barefoot on the sand, his simple wrappings a stark contrast to the arena's brutality. His skin was unblemished, his face cherubic, crowned with a mop of innocent curls. That bright, unwavering smile seemed utterly clueless, a bizarre sight in this grim pit. "Hold on," Rayon cried. "This kid can't fight. It's obvious to anyone," he raged. "Is he unwell? Unfocused? Unarmed? Are they sending him to his doom?" Dorian just gave him a blank stare, completely unfazed by Rayon's panic. Rayon glared at the cheering crowd. "What's so amusing, you lunatics?" Even the Deathbringer seemed to ponder if this was a joke, a test, or just a bizarre opening act. But the hulking warrior quickly dismissed the thought, his expression hardening. "Doesn't matter," the Deathbringer growled, gripping his cudgel. "I plan to crush everyone here anyway." The Deathbringer unleashed a mighty swing, his spiked cudgel a blur of motion. Runan looked up, seemingly defenseless, as the brutal weapon descended upon him. Rayon winced, unable to watch as a sickening thud echoed, sending someone flying toward the deadly stakes. Peeking through his fingers, Rayon's face contorted in sheer horror at the scene. "It's over!" The arena seemed to declare as Runan lay motionless on the sand. Rayon's eyes darted wide, a flicker of disbelief. Could this really be the end? But wait. Runan stirred slowly, painfully pushing himself up from the ground. "Nope, don't stand up," Rayon pleaded silently. "You'll really meet your end." His terror mounted as he watched the boy struggle. "Run away. No. Ask for a weapon at least." "What kind of miserable end is this?" Rayon shouted. "Stop!" he yelled, his fist clenched as Runan stumbled dangerously close to the stakes. Overwhelmed, Rayon turned away, muttering, "I don't want to watch anymore." He buried his face against the railing, the grim reality too much to bear. A memory surfaced, a younger Rayon, a hand gently on his head, as a voice explained, "This is how people without parents live, Rayon." The flashback showed young Rayon peering down at less fortunate children confined below. "But father, that's too unfair," young Rayon protested. "That child should have a chance too." His father's hands gripped his shoulders as he explained, "They are slaves by birth. Life is somewhat predetermined from the beginning." His father then turned his head, saying, "So what you should be looking at is not that pigsty, but that grand and beautiful kingdom. That is our path, Rayon." his father declared, forcing the boy to confront a harsh societal truth. Young Rayon clutched his book tightly, the weight of his father's words sinking in. Rayon's knuckles were white on the rail, his father's harsh words burning in his memory. He looked up, despair replaced by a steely glint of defiance in his eyes. Down in the pit, Runan was still dangerously close to the stakes, with Deathbringer looming. "You good?" Dorian smirked. "Getting all worked up over a bit of cash." Deathbringer didn't wait, swinging his massive weapon down on the boy again. "Don't take it personally, kid," the brute sneered at his seemingly defeated opponent. The hit landed hard, sending Runan sprawling once more onto the arena sand. Deathbringer's eyes were pure predator cold and fixed on his target. "No!" Rayon yelled, his voice cracking, but no one in the frenzied crowd cared. Then, in a lightning-fast moment, Rayon's eyes locked with Runan's. A desperate plea flashed between them. Incredibly, Runan, inches from disaster, was still smiling, a truly bizarre sight. Rayon watched, his mind struggling to comprehend this boy's unwavering grin. Deathbringer, furious, unleashed another devastating blow, expecting an easy finish. But Runan moved like lightning, rolling under the attack with impossible agility. Then, in a stunning reversal, Runan launched a powerful kick straight to the brute's head. The giant stumbled, a look of utter shock replacing his murderous rage. Rayon could only stare, exclamation points of disbelief practically exploding around him. Runan landed lightly, a knowing, almost mischievous glint in his eyes. An odd halo appeared above him. The entire arena fell silent, the crowd's frenzied cheers choked by sheer astonishment. The scene froze. The small boy had just sent the colossal Deathbringer reeling. Rayon recalled the raw thrill of victory, a blue hue washing over his intense gaze. He remembered the roar of the crowd, their cheers echoing in his mind. And once more, Runan, with a wild grin, leaped into the fray undeterred. He connected with another stunning blow, sending the Deathbringer reeling again. Rayon gripped the railing tighter, his eyes wide with a mix of shock and dawning realization. Runan unleashed a barrage of strikes, a whirlwind of motion against the stunned giant. Rayon's jaw clenched, his gaze fixed, absorbing every impossible moment of this beatdown. A single word echoed in his mind as he watched domination. Runan delivered a final decisive sequence, overwhelming the brute. The mighty Deathbringer collapsed, utterly defeated, on the arena floor. Runan stood over him, the arena still silent. "Runan wins!" The announcement boomed as the boy flashed his signature slightly bruised, victorious grin. Rayon stared dumbfounded as the crowd erupted, chanting Runan's name. His mind was reeling. "What is this?" Dorian smirked, approaching Rayon. "Congratulations! Here are your winnings." As Rayon eyed him questioningly, Dorian handed him a meager pouch. His hopes for his tuition money were instantly dashed. "My money!" He opened his palm. A single solitary copper coin glinted mockingly within. "1 copper coin!" Rayon's expression hardened, the paltry sum a bitter pill to swallow. "Look at this," Dorian said, holding up a betting slip with a knowing look. The slip revealed Runan's near-certain win rate. Dorian explained, "Runan's matches are basically free tips. Bet big, win small. Here your money is returned as it was." He chuckled, handing back Rayon's original stake. "That kid is running away, haha." Dorian, ever the tempter, grinned. "So fancy some more action?" Rayon paused, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. After the betting fiasco, subsequent matches unfolded exactly as Rayon had envisioned, a brutal spectacle. Each clash was a grim testament to the arena's cruel and barbaric nature. He couldn't stomach it, leaving in under 10 minutes. Dorian casually asked, "Home?" Returning to school. Rayon immediately paid his tuition, a weight lifted. His life resumed its familiar rhythm. Late-night studies in the quiet dormitory, candlelight illuminating him deep in concentration, his quill dancing across the page. Shelves displayed his academic triumphs, awards, and meticulously arranged texts. Suddenly, Rayon's grip tightened on his quill, his gaze sharp with a new resolve. His hand trembled, the quill a weapon against his own indecision. A strange diagram was on the page. His blue eyes, usually calm, now blazed with an unsettling new light. That lone copper coin rested nearby, a constant mocking reminder of the arena's lure. He snapped his advanced geometry textbook, shut the lesson for the night, clearly over. With a puff, Rayon extinguished the candles, plunging his room and perhaps his old life into darkness. Outside, the night deepened, the dormitory windows reflecting an ordinary starry sky. Sleep eluded him. Rayon lay awake, his mind a battlefield of conflicting thoughts. Suddenly, the serene night transformed. The window became a portal to a fiery, chaotic vision. His eyes snapped wide, the crimson glow from outside painting his face with dread and fascination. Reflections of Runan's manic grin and brutal victories danced in Rayon's now incandescent magenta eyes. A decision had been made. Rayon jolted awake with a gasp, the morning light streaming in a stark contrast to his fiery vision. He panted, sweat beading on his brow, the intensity of the night's decision still etched on his face as he muttered, Morning. A rooster's crow pierced the dawn, confirming a new day had begun, and with it a new path for Rayon. Elsewhere, Dorian boasted to his cronies, offering a pub treat completely oblivious to Rayon's transformation. Suddenly, Rayon appeared, his shadow falling over Dorian, whose bravado instantly vanished. "Oh, shh!" the senior stammered, unnerved by Rayon's cold demeanor and the unsettling glint in his eyes. Rayon, with a chillingly calm intensity in those now familiar glowing eyes, proposed, "Perhaps, shall we go again today?" The scene shifted. Another rooster heralded morning, but this time from a much grimmer stone-walled location. A battered face, undoubtedly Deathbringer's, snapped awake with a start, eyes wide with lingering shock. His companion casually mentioned he'd been out since the arena, urging him to prep for the next match, the cycle unbroken. Deathbringer's eyes gleamed with a fiery resolve, the sting of defeat fresh. His cellmate casually mentions that guy, as a flashback showed Runan training, a stark contrast to their grim surroundings. "Consider yourself lucky," the cellmate smirked. "He adjusts his skill, keeps the show going without actually ending anyone." Deathbringer scoffed, bandages askew. "Huh, adjusts. Don't make me laugh." "I just let my guard down," he growled. "One lucky kick, if I'd fought properly." His companion burst out laughing. "Ha! You'd already be dead, pal." Deathbringer's eyes narrowed into furious slits. "What did you say?" "You'd be stuffed in that corpse disposal bin over there." The cellmate gestured, utterly unfazed. Deathbringer's fist tightened, veins bulging as his companion waved a dismissive hand. "Whoa, calm down. Just telling you the truth." Suddenly, Runan appeared, beaming. "Save the fighting for the arena, boys." The cellmate snapped to attention. "Yes, sir." Runan's arrival completely shifted the power dynamic. Deathbringer seethed, watching his tough-talking companion instantly cower before the kid. A hush fell over the other prisoners. Clearly, Runan commanded a different kind of respect here. "Him, the big shot," Deathbringer scoffed, dismissing the milk-breathed punk, despite the obvious fear. Delusional Deathbringer mused that Runan was trembling with fear of him still claiming that arena loss was pure luck. He surveyed the downtrodden fighters, declaring them all weaklings in his grand assessment. "This is my world." Deathbringer grinned maniacally, already plotting to dethrone Runan and rule the roost. "Hey, you little runt." Deathbringer swaggered up, ready to assert his dominance over a bewildered Runan. He loomed over him, interrogating, "Slave market war prisoner debt? How'd a kid like you get sold here?" "My father sold me here at birth." Runan beamed, dropping a bombshell that left Deathbringer utterly stunned. "Indeed. The folks here raised me, taught me everything about fighting." Deathbringer scoffed. "Taught you if they're stronger, why do they cower when you're around?" "Ah, a slight misstatement," Runan admitted, casually, starting to remove his simple tunic. His hand gripped the fabric, a sense of anticipation building as he pulled it away. Underneath a physique etched with countless scars was revealed. He clarified, "Those people, they've been gone a very long time." Deathbringer's eyes widened, a silent, "Huh," hanging in the air as the chilling implication sank in. "Now," Runan continued, his back to Deathbringer, "there's no one left to teach me or even offer a decent challenge, just new faces." He turned lightly, tapping Deathbringer's shoulder with a knowing smile. "Like you. So sizing up new arrivals is part of my job." Runan pointed to a minor scratch on himself. "I even let myself get hit. Make it look close. It keeps everyone entertained." A sliver of Deathbringer's eye reflected pure dawning horror as the truth of Runan's performance hit him. He flashed back to their arena clash, Runan effortlessly catching his spiked mace, holding it back with unnerving ease. He remembered that chilling grin, the playful wink. Runan had barely broken a sweat. The memory of his own defeat played back, with Runan looking on, almost bored. "You were toying with me." The horrifying truth crashed down on Deathbringer. He grabbed Runan's shoulder, his world crumbling with this devastating revelation. Runan beamed. "No need for break-time brawls. We'll all meet our end in the arena anyway." As Deathbringer processed this, Runan politely said, Excuse me." Then, with a cheerful smile, he delivered a lightning-fast punch right to Deathbringer's jaw. Deathbringer was sent flying, instantly knocked out cold by the deceptively powerful kid. He smashed into the stone wall, out for the count. His former cellmate smirked. Everyone's like that at first, totally unfazed by the display of power. Elsewhere, Rayon examined an arena pass. Iron Face Silver Grade. A new identity in his hand. He wondered aloud, Iron Face, is that like a nickname, clearly new to this whole arena business? A flashback showed Dorian palming off his duties. "I'm going to the pub. You do my share." The senior handed over his pass and betting money, ordering Rayon to place bets exactly as written. Rayon sighed, clutching the pass and money. "I just wanted to see Runan's match. Now I look like a regular gambler." He joined the queue outside the imposing arena where a sign reminded everyone pass must be carried at all times. The scene shifted to a quiet rural setting. Meanwhile, at the gravedigger's house, an old gravedigger called out, "Cigar, come with me. Let's go collect some corpses from the Lucas Janai arena." "Yes, master," replied Cigar, the gravedigger's apprentice, an anatomy book in hand. The pair, with their trusty donkey and cart, made their way toward the imposing arena. Surveying a grim aftermath, the old gravedigger remarked, "Looks like they had quite a big event yesterday." Doubting their cart's capacity, his apprentice Rayon as Cigar confidently assured him, "I'll stack them well," earning a chuckle and trust from his master. The gravedigger internally praised his new hire. "You've only been employed for a month, but you're very reliable. I hired well." While carrying a fallen fighter, a masked Rayon looked perplexed. The gravedigger observed from a distance. Rayon's hand tightened on a corpse's wrist, his attention caught by a peculiar detail. His eyes widened, a flicker of understanding dawning as he inspected the marks more closely. Rayon noted aloud, his voice muffled by his mask. Similar bruise marks can be seen on almost all the corpses. Examining the fallen, he concluded, judging by the size, location, and shape, they were likely made by bare fists. Rayon realized with a shock. But these are all wounds from days ago, not from the final fight. This arena is known for weapons, so why are there bare-handed marks on every corpse? Suddenly his master cried out from a distance, "Cigar, come here." Looking utterly panicked, the old man beckoned. Rayon turned his masked face questioning. "What is it, sir?" As he approached his distressed master, the old gravedigger pointed to a fallen fighter. "This corpse. It appears to be that of a royal family member matching the recent missing person notice." He elaborated. "Hair and eyebrows plucked, but the mole, the teeth? It's a perfect match to the notice." While Rayon examined the paper, the gravedigger seethed. "These bastards! A royal missing for a month found here in the arena." Rayon, ever decisive, declared, "Then I'll go call the lord and the church officials right away." But the old man yanked his apprentice's tunic, exclaiming, "Wait!" His eyes were wide with fear. "Reporting this," the gravedigger warned, his voice trembling. "That could put us in danger too. Don't you know the king's temperament? He'll think we did this." He nervously suggested, "Perhaps it might be better to just quietly bury this." Rayon listened, his expression unreadable, a silent storm brewing. "Master," he declared, his resolve hardening, "criminals must be punished even if it costs me my life to uphold justice." With a determined, "I'll be back," Rayon strode off, leaving his panicked master behind. "I hired poorly," the old gravedigger muttered, watching Rayon's retreating figure against the desolate landscape. Rayon, meanwhile, grimly considered the consequences. "Then everyone connected to the arena will be executed." Elsewhere, Rayon clutched his arena pass, whispering, "Just one more time." Seated in the roaring crowd, he rationalized, "I'm just going to watch Runayan's match one more time." The sun blazed brightly, a picture of calm before the storm. Suddenly, ominous dark clouds rolled in, swallowing the light. Lightning cracked across the sky. A woman inside glanced nervously out her window. "Why did the weather suddenly change like this?" she fretted. "I need to bring in the laundry quickly." She opened the door only to be met by a sudden downpour. Her bright blue eyes widened in surprise. "What's going on now?" she murmured, confronted by a troop of armored knights at her doorstep. More royal knights filled her yard, their grim commander leading the charge, leaving her utterly bewildered. The imposing figures stood resolute in the torrential rain, their attention fixed on a nearby stone building. A heavy mace slammed into the muddy ground with a thud, signaling serious business. The knight commander bellowed, pointing toward the arena. "Listen up! A royal family murderer is holed up in there." He roared his orders. "No escapees. Capture everyone. Resistance means immediate decisive action." His armored knights responded with a thunderous, unified, "Yes, ready for the grim task." Inside the arena, another brutal match concluded, one fighter clearly dominating another. Rayon, utterly dismayed, muttered, "Damn it! Are all these fights so grim besides Runan's?" Suddenly, a flamboyant announcer burst forth. "And now for today's main event." He paused dramatically, fist clenched, addressing the eager crowd. "Everyone!" The announcer threw out a chilling question. "Remember that serial killer who terrified the village a month back?" Gasps rippled through the audience, Rayon included, as they whispered, "A serial killer? That guy impossible." "Patrols couldn't touch him," the announcer declared. "He was known as the Nocturnal Demon." "But shouldn't he be locked up?" the announcer bellowed. "That man has come to this arena and his first battle." He gestured wildly. "Of course it has to start with Happy Face." As the smiling fighter Runan stepped forward, Rayon gasped from the crowd. "Impossible! That murderer is here," the announcer declared. "Now it's time for the Nocturnal Demon to appear." Rayon scoffed internally. What a ridiculous place this is. The so-called nocturnal demon grinned wickedly. They'll feed me for this. They've brought me to heaven, not hell. With a chilling smile and blades ready, he asked, "Shall we go then?" Suddenly, a massive armored boot thudded onto the arena floor, catching the demon off guard. The Knight Commander strode in, demanding, "How is this trash? Who should be on the gallows here?" The nocturnal demon, blades still in hand, looked utterly bewildered by this unexpected interruption. The commander grimly deduced, "If Lucastian can pull someone like him from prison, he's definitely connected to the kingdom." The nocturnal demon, blades at the ready, stared down the imposing Knight Commander. His fight had just gotten a serious upgrade. A dangerous glint appeared in the demon's eye. Oh! A wicked idea began to spark. He glanced back at an open door. The door opened, he thought, seeing a potential or perhaps baited escape. "They even put a weapon in my hand," he mused, realizing this situation was far from a simple arrest. With a wild grin, he interpreted this as a challenge. "This is just telling me to go out." His grip tightened on his weapon, ready to carve a path through whatever stood in his way. The demon launched himself at the commander, a whirlwind of desperate fury against armored might. Meanwhile, the announcer fretted by the empty stage. Why isn't he appearing, oblivious to the chaos backstage? The crowd erupted in disbelief. "Is this a lie? There's no way that murderer could be here," while Ryan watched intently. Suddenly, a spectator urged Ryan, "Hey, wait, look over there," as something new captured their attention. The crowd gawked as the Knight Commander himself crashed the main event mace, ready for business. "Everyone!" He roared, his voice a shockwave through the suddenly silent arena. With eyes of steel, the commander laid down the law. "Kneel down now." He then delivered the knockout blow. "You're all suspects in a royal murder." As knights sealed every exit, one man screamed, "It wasn't me, get out of my way!" His panic clashed against a wall of steel, his desperate struggle ending abruptly, a grim lesson for anyone else thinking of arguing. "The king's decree is final," the commander thundered. "Resist and pay the ultimate price. Kneel." Ryan hit the dirt, his arena pass and winnings scattering beside a fresh crimson warning. "Are you deaf?" the commander sneered at a cowering man. "I said kneel." But Ryan, amidst the terror, met the commander's gaze with an unnervingly calm, almost challenging smile. The commander, thoroughly unamused by Ryan's grin, icily asked, "You find this amusing, boy?" Ryan stood, a strange glint in his eyes, the air crackling with unspoken defiance. Then in a shocking move, he slammed his forehead hard onto the dusty arena floor. The commander internally scoffed, "Always with the theatrics, these defiant ones." Unseen, Ryan's hand tightened around a sturdy wooden pole, a desperate plan forming. He ground his foot into the earth, coiling his body like a spring loaded for attack. Exploding upwards, Ryan swung the makeshift club with surprising ferocity at the commander. A flash of genuine surprise crossed the commander's hardened eye, the audacity. Yet the commander froze his own bone-crushing counterattack mid-swing, of puzzling hesitation. Ryan was down again, the commander towering over him, the brief wild rebellion seemingly crushed. With a manic grin, Ryan brought his club down, aiming to rearrange the commander's face. A blinding flash of impact, or perhaps just the commander's sheer astonishment at this kid's nerve. The commander's armored forearm met wood, sending Ryan spinning like a top from the deflected blow. Onlookers and knights alike gasped. Who is this lunatic challenging the commander? Ryan, ever the opportunist, used the spin to reposition, still grinning like he was having the time of his life. This bastard. The commander saw a trickle of blood on his own face, showing the attack wasn't entirely harmless. Ryan's grip on his makeshift weapon tightened. Splintering wood be damned, he wasn't done yet. Now, truly furious, the commander hefted his own massive weapon, ready to end this insolence permanently. He paused, a flicker of realization. Again. He's standing as if he anticipated the attack before it was even swung. He's too close, the commander realized. Ryan's daring move had put him in a spot where a big swing was impossible. The commander glared, realizing too late that his own bulk was now a disadvantage. Ryan's eye locked on target, the perfect moment to throw a punch, and he committed fully. With a shocking vault off his pole, Ryan slammed a powerful kick straight into the commander. That audacious kick sent the mighty commander flying, a spray of crimson marking Ryan's successful hit. Ryan landed a bit shaken, but still on his feet, the arena dust swirling around his defiance. Before the dust even settled, he launched himself again, a whirlwind of unexpected offense. He withstood it, the commander thought, unable to believe this upstart was still standing, let alone fighting back. Now utterly incensed, the commander swung his massive halberd with bone-shattering intent. The earth trembled as his furious strike missed Ryan by a hair's breadth, carving a trench. His powerful blow wasted. The commander turned his gaze, sweeping toward the arena steps, panting from exertion. Rayon, defying gravity, landed another stunning blow, flipping the commander end over end. The mighty commander crashed to the earth, the impact shaking the arena. Towering over his fallen foe, Rayon's silhouette radiated an almost demonic triumph. Suddenly, a volley of projectiles rained down, narrowly missing Rayon as he stood his ground. He twisted and turned, but a few sharp points found their mark, drawing crimson. "Captain, are you all right?" his knights cried as both combatants now lay wounded on the arena floor. The commander, struggling to process, muttered, "What on earth is going on?" His gaze fixed on Rayon, a single burning question in his eye. "Who is that guy, pinned by projectiles?" Rayon stared up with a wild, unbroken grin, clearly enjoying this insane fight. Both warriors were down, the commander staring daggers at Rayon, who was impaled yet unbroken. The commander internally fumed. "He's looking at me mockingly." Utterly misjudging Rayon's grin, he inwardly snarled, "Even facing your end, you'll savor this humiliation." With lethal intent, the commander rose, weapon poised. "As you wish. I'll finish you now." "Stop!" a new, rather round voice bellowed, shattering the tense atmosphere. The commander, mid-execution, turned in surprise as a stout man, Dorian, frantically approached. The newcomer arrived breathless before the imposing figure, uttering Lucastian. He pleaded. He fought because he thought it was an arena match. He doesn't understand the situation. Anyone in arena gear is just an opponent to him. He's merely a trained dog. Despite his wounds, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk played on Rayon's lips. The commander's eye twitched, a storm brewing within at this unexpected plea. "His expression," Dorian cried. "It's a childhood affliction, not mockery." He pulled at his own cheeks, explaining, "Damaged nerves freeze his face into that smile." "What?" The commander uttered this new information, halting his murderous intent. "It's the unbelievable truth, Commander," the portly man insisted, sweating. A flashback revealed a baby Rayon, his face locked in that same cheerful look, a lifelong misunderstanding beginning. Even as a babe abandoned by his parents, his expression remained confusing. Nicked by a blade, his new guardian saw the boy appear to laugh, his pain masked by his unyielding features. He even seemed to smile as his caregiver lay dying, his true sorrow unseen. Misjudged as a demon, Rayon endured torment in prison, his constant grin fueling their cruelty. Yet his fighting prowess ensured he survived even the harshest beatdowns, baffling onlookers. Dorian, peering through cell bars, had wondered at the chaos Rayon effortlessly created. "I've seen this pattern his whole life," the man thought, recognizing the tragic misunderstandings. Even as a boy surrounded by the consequences of violence, Rayon's face showed only that eerie cheer. Beneath the grin, a soul in constant turmoil, forever scared, sad, and desperate, was unable to show it. "But nobody believes it," Dorian insisted, pointing to Rayon's current painful predicament. "Look closely," he urged the commander. "He appears joyful even when impaled and in agony." Crowds were drawn to Rayon's happy warrior persona, fueling his tragic legend in the arena. "I too was captivated," Dorian confessed. "That's why I'm here. I couldn't abandon him. This is my thanks, Rayon," he declared. "For a joy I never knew, you've given it to me." Rayon lay pinned, that unsettling grin plastered on his face as the commander's weapon hovered. "Nonsense!" the commander roared, utterly dismissing the plea. "Everyone here is going to die anyway." In a shocking move, Dorian hurled himself forward, taking the commander's devastating blow. Afterwards, Lucastian confessed his crimes, facing grim justice alongside the arena's operators. The very next day, their gallows were erected in prime view directly beneath the king's morning balcony, a clear statement. This decisive public display of retribution slightly calmed the king's simmering anger. Meanwhile, in a cold prison, a different figure sobbed, "I don't want to die here." Awaiting execution, another prisoner, pale with fear, whispered, "I overheard. Everyone involved has been dealt with, and now it's our turn." He clutched himself, thoughts racing. "Execution? How did it come to this? What did I do?" Utterly broken, he begged for mercy. "Please spare me. Please, I'm sorry." In the gloom of the prison, a familiar, unnervingly cheerful face asked the despairing prisoner, "Are you okay?" The prisoner, lost in his misery, barely registered the question, muttering the name Raon under his breath. Suddenly he jolted upright, recognizing the voice and exclaiming, "Raon, when did you get here?" Raon casually revealed from his cell, "I've been locked up here with you since yesterday." With that signature-wide grin, he added, "You were just talking to yourself, so I was watching." The prisoner, flustered by this revelation, stammered, "Ah, was I that out of it?" His mind flashed back to the arena, recalling Rayon, grievously wounded by a hail of projectiles. Pointing in disbelief, he questioned, "Weren't you hit by arrows?" To which Rayon nonchalantly replied, "I was hit a little." He then cheekily explained, holding up some loose arrows, but I just pretended to be pierced all over my body and lay down. Beaming with his usual unsettling cheer, Ryan declared with absolute confidence, "I'm fine." The prisoner reeled, muttering, Unbelievable!" at Ryan's audacious survival story. His mind flashed back to the truth. Damaged nerves locked Ryan's face, masking a soul in constant turmoil. Still huddled in fear, he asked Ryan, "You're scared now too, right? Despite what they say?" Ryan, with that terrifyingly cheerful grin, confirmed, "Of course I'm scared. We're about to die." Ryan's cellmate was struck dumb, the sheer disconnect between face and fear utterly bewildering. A sudden incredulous laugh escaped the prisoner. Ryan's terrifying cheer in the face of doom was just too much. "Is it funny?" Ryan asked, his grin unwavering. As the prisoner stammered a flustered denial, Ryan, ever the enigma, simply stated with his smile, "It's okay. Everyone is like that." The prisoner, still trying to process this, weakly agreed, "Yeah." Completely thrown by this strange comfort, silence fell. The prisoner looked down, a bead of sweat tracing his temple as he pondered the paradox that was Ryan. Waiting for death, but this guy's presence somehow calms my nerves. Suddenly a guard bellowed, "The king orders families to prove your innocence." Hope ignited. The prisoner leaped up. "If proven innocent, you're released." Ryan, ever grinning, heard the catch. Those who couldn't prove their origins would be executed. An hour passed, then desperate cries of "Son, brother," as a family rushed in. The prisoner tearfully reunited with them. "Father, mother, I'm sorry." His mother clutched him, sorrow and relief warring on her face as his sibling hugged his leg. From his cell, Ryan observed the poignant family reunion, his own face an unreadable mask. The prisoner, his family gone, turned to Ryan with a sudden heavy understanding. "Ah!" he called out, a newfound empathy in his voice. "Ryan!" A flashback revealed a young Ryan haunted by spectral hands clutching a book in the rain. His father's voice echoed from the past. "This is how people without families live, Ryan. They are slaves by birth, their lives predetermined." Young Ryan's eyes welled with tears as he whispered, "Father," understanding the harsh reality. Back in the present, Ryan's eyes burned with defiance. "But that's not a reason to be executed." He was dragged away, his adult self looking back at his younger, equally trapped reflection. A guard barked, "Stop talking and follow me," as Ryan was led towards an unknown fate. Ryan reflected, his steely gaze fixed. "I haven't changed from when I was young." His internal monologue revealed a crushing truth. "I have no power to act on my own will. I'm so weak." Shadows nearly consumed his eyes, mirroring the darkness of his perceived helplessness. Despite his grim reality, Ryan flashed that unsettling smile, declaring, "It's okay." Yet a flicker in his eyes betrayed a depth far beyond his cheerful facade. He turned, bloodstains marring his back, peering through the bars as his former cellmate's family departed. Outside, the freed prisoner walked away with his loved ones, a stark contrast to Ryan's solitude. An official coldly ordered, "The innocents are gone. Send the remaining prisoners to the gallows." But a guard interjected, "Sir, there's a peculiar exception to consider." Turns out the disgraced Lucastian once registered a contestant as a church member, likely for a hefty sum. Church law dictated this individual wouldn't face execution, but a lifetime of servitude, a fate the king had approved. The official, clearly intrigued, demanded, "Well, who is this fortunate soul?" The guard revealed, "There's no proper name, sir, only their contestant title." The official's eyes widened in shock, a demonic visage of Ryan looming in his mind as he gasped, "It's Ryan." He clenched his fist, realizing Lucastian's cryptic words were a final desperate act of repayment. Peering from a stone window, the official mused just what kind of enigma Ryan truly was to inspire such devotion. 1 week drifted by. The scene shifted to the grim reality of a desolate slave market. Inside, a merchant-eyed Ryan who was curled up in a cage, emitting unsettling muffled sounds. "Is this new arrival unhinged?" One trader scoffed, while another callously remarked, "His constant cackling means no sale. Just let him waste away," revealing even the church had offloaded him for a pittance, deeming him surplus. Suddenly, a calm voice cut through. "I would like to buy that child." An elderly woman with a staff approached the surprised traders. One trader, utterly bewildered, stammered, We don't have any children here, ma'am." The old woman clarified, gesturing to Ryan, "I mean that child, the one weeping so sorrowfully in the cage." Her gaze was unwavering and her voice firm as she declared with conviction, "I will take him." In her ancient eyes, a reflection of Ryan's tear-streaked face in the cage revealed she saw his profound sorrow. Later at a dinner table, a young woman exclaimed in disbelief, "Grandmother brought in a slave." Her shock deepened to worry. "But why is she alone with him right now?" An older man calmly explained, "They need help at home. Waiting at the clinic gets harder with age." The girl fretted about trusting a slave in these dangerous times, but he reminded her of their grandmother's good judgment. Still doubtful, she decided, "I'll visit tomorrow. I must see this person with my own eyes." The story transitioned to a quaint farmhouse nestled peacefully under a soft sky. Inside, the old woman gently told Rayon, now out of the cage and sporting his usual smile, "First, let's get you washed and into clean clothes." Before another word, the old woman's stomach let out an impressive growl, signaling a more immediate need. Aghast, she exclaimed, "Don't tell me those scoundrels didn't even feed you." She shooed Rayon towards the bathroom. "Oh my, go wash up quickly, I'll prepare some food." With a pan in hand, she laid down the law. "Today's a freebie, but from tomorrow you work for your meals. Understand?" Rayon's eye widened slightly, a curious glint as he asked, "Fighting?" The old woman paused, a flicker of confusion crossing her weathered face. "Fighting," she repeated, dismissing his odd question. "Don't say such frightening things." She clarified his future chores. "You'll wash dishes, clean rooms, and gather firewood for winter." Rayon, ever smiling, stood by a steaming tub as she urged, "Go wash up quickly." His discarded clothes hit the floor as he trudged towards the inviting bath. He dipped a foot into the warm water, a small step into his new, uncertain life. Rayon's signature unsettling grin widened, a stark contrast to a chilling memory of his younger self enduring the cold. His eyes, though still wide, showed a hint of genuine bewilderment at this new, warm environment. "It's warm," he registered as his foot met the water, a sensation completely foreign. Submerged in the wooden tub, the harsh history etched onto his back became starkly visible. This simple bath felt like an absolution, the warmth and novel comfort washing away years of remembered pain. Next, fresh clothes were offered, a far cry from his previous rags. The aroma of simmering food promised a proper meal, another unfamiliar luxury. At the table, the old woman served him. This house had already offered more kindness than he had ever known. A gentle hand applied a healing poultice to his scarred skin, tending his wounds. The old woman clucked at the cruelty he had faced, assuring him the herbs would mend his injuries. Rayon, still bearing the marks of his past, addressed her formally. "Excuse me, master." The old woman offered a revolutionary kindness. "Just call me grandmother." "Grandmother." Rayon repeated the unfamiliar term, sparking a flicker in his wide eyes. She patiently waited for his next words, asking gently, "What is it?" He voiced a simple yet profound desire. "Can I go outside?" An unspoken understanding passed between them before she granted his quiet plea. Stepping out, Rayon stretched towards the open sky, a gesture of pure, unadulterated awe. His eyes, wide and luminous, drank in the expanse, a world away from confinement. His hand reached out, fingers splayed as if to touch the very air of freedom. A stark memory surfaced, a small, tearful child gazing at a sliver of light from a dark cell. Lukastian's voice echoed from the past. "The world outside these bars is much bigger than you think. The sky and land stretch endlessly. If you were given freedom, you would understand." Back in the present, Rayon glanced over his shoulder, the rising sun illuminating a path he now comprehended. He took in the sight of the farmhouse, a beacon of unexpected sanctuary in this vast world. Inside, the old woman sat, her voice heavy but kind. "If you want to leave, you can. I'm too old to stop you anyway." A flicker of crimson in Rayon's eyes betrayed an internal shift, a decision solidifying. He stepped back into the house, his voice calm. "Grandmother, I've seen everything." His bare feet trod firmly on the wooden floor, a silent declaration of his choice. Each step was deliberate, carrying him not away, but towards something new within these walls. Another flashback pierced through a tiny Rayon, looking up at Lukastian, uttering a single heartfelt word, "Dad." Lukastian's kind, scarred face from the past gazed down, a bittersweet memory. The old woman looked up, her expression mirroring that gentle understanding. In the present, Rayon, beaming and holding plates, declared, "I'll start working right away, I'm fine now." A warm, knowing smile spread across the old woman's face, pleased by his resolve. Just then, the older man arrived, cheerfully calling out, "Grandmother, I'm back." His cheerful greeting faltered into a bewildered, "Huh? Huh?" The older man stammered as he took in the scene. Rayon, now in an apron and cap broom in hand, brightly welcomed him. "Welcome home." The man turned to the old woman, utterly perplexed. "Grandmother, didn't you say you were bringing a child?" She gestured emphatically at Rayon, retorting, "He is a child. What's wrong?" The man scratched his head, chuckling nervously. Is that so?" Already anticipating Winnie's dramatic reaction, the old man, still slightly bemused, welcomed Rayon to their unconventional family. Rayon, ever the enigma, offered a gentle, almost serene smile in his new domestic attire. Through the window, the trio appeared as a picture of newfound, if unexpected, domestic bliss. This day, Ryan radiated pure joy, experiencing a warmth he had never known before. But peace is fragile. A hurled rock shattered a window, abruptly ending the tranquility. The scene shifted to a stark night, a younger Ryan gazing through the broken pane, his world fractured. This memory plunged us into Ryan's past, a time of bitter cold and profound desolation. News of the arena incident had spread like wildfire, branding him a pariah in his own dormitory. Despite his desperate pleas of innocence, cruel accusations painted him as a monster even for things unseen. Consequently, his achievements were stripped away, his scholarships revoked, his future stolen. With an expulsion hearing looming, Ryan found himself utterly alone, abandoned by everyone at school. His youthful face, etched with a grim understanding, showed the weight of false accusations. He watched in silence as Lukastian, his father figure, desperately pleaded for a second chance on his behalf. A tremor of suppressed emotion ran through Ryan, his jaw tight with unspoken anguish. Driven by a desperate need for truth, Ryan's hurried footsteps echoed his urgent mission. He pounded on a senior's door, clutching a pass, frantically trying to clear his name. "It wasn't me," Ryan yelled, his voice raw with the injustice of being framed for something he didn't do. The door creaked open, a sliver of hope in the suffocating darkness of betrayal. Ryan's gaze fixed on the opening, a silent plea for acknowledgement in his eyes. But instead of help, he faced a cold dismissal. "Get lost, you barbarian!" shattering his last hope. Ryan's eyes blazed with fury, the barbarian taunt echoing in his mind. Inside, the senior smirked mockingly, accusing Ryan of trying to frame him. Ryan's hand tightened around the pass, his patience utterly shattered. He lunged, a blur of motion, aiming his frustration squarely at the tormentor. The impact was swift, a desperate act born from unbearable injustice. Onlookers grabbed Ryan, their voices branding him crazy and violent once more. The senior, recovering, quickly delivered the final blow with a smug, "Your expulsion is confirmed." Held back, Ryan unleashed a defiant spit, his last act of rebellion. "Shut up, you irredeemable trash!" he roared, his voice raw with betrayed innocence. That very night, Ryan was cast out, the final decision on his fate, delayed, leaving him alone in the dark. Unable to face home, Ryan sought solace in the desolate mountains, tears marking his lonely path. He whispered a desperate apology to his parents, lost and unsure of his next move. Suddenly, a cheerful figure with a basket of foraged goods popped up, asking a startled Ryan, "Are you okay?" Ryan stared in disbelief, stammering, How are you here? I thought you were dead." The stranger, Runean, unfazed, explained his late-night snack run and casually offered Ryan a mushroom. Still bewildered, Ryan watched as the peculiar fellow cheerfully presented the questionable fungi. Ryan dryly pointed out, "That's a poisonous mushroom," prompting a dramatic gasp and an "I almost died" from the other. Unseen by the pair, two figures observed their odd encounter from the bushes, chuckling at the scene. One of the observers, Lukastian, questioned his companion, who confidently stated he saw Ryan leaving the Nobles' University. The companion firmly concluded, "No doubt about it, he's at least from a noble family." Lukastian's companion scoffed, "He's obviously the village idiot. Nobles always keep one dim-witted fellow by their side." Meanwhile, a sinister group of bandits with glowing eyes spotted them, sensing an opportunity for a good haul of gold coins. Oblivious Runan asked Ryan, "So you're now a slave at that grandmother's house?" To which Ryan casually confirmed, "But is it okay for you to just come out alone like this?" Runan queried, concerned for Ryan's well-being. Ryan offered a rare, genuine smile. "She must be a good person then. I can feel how considerate she is." His companion beamed. "I think so too. I was thinking I was going to die, but..." Trailing off with relief. The curious fellow then pivoted. "By the way, are you okay now? Why were you crying earlier?" Ryan hesitated, the jovial mood dimming as he began. That's..." Under the dark forest canopy, before he could explain, a menacing figure with a drawn sword interrupted. "What brings a young noble to such a dangerous mountain path?" Startled, Ryan and Runan turned to face the unwelcome armed intruder. More bandits emerged from the shadows, one brandishing a hefty axe, clearly outnumbering our duo. Ryan, ever the strategist, sharply ordered his companion, "Runan, get down!" a command that left Runan utterly perplexed. Without warning, Ryan prostrated himself on the ground, leaving Runan standing there, a beacon of baffled innocence. Trembling, Ryan offered a meager handful of coins, desperately begging, "Please spare my life, this is all my wealth." The assembled bandits exchanged smug, predatory grins, clearly unimpressed by Ryan's groveling. Their leader gave a slow, mocking clap. "Wow, your situational judgment is very quick," he sneered. Then the chilling reveal, "But our target is your parents. You're being kidnapped." As the bandits moved to secure them, Ryan stammered, Wait, I'm not even a noble." But they were already tying up Runan. One ruffian grabbed Runan, peering into his basket with a sneer. "Kick, what is this?" Suddenly Runan unleashed a stunningly swift punch connecting decisively with the bandit's face. The ruffian hit the dirt out cold from Runan's unexpected haymaker. His bewildered bandit buddies stared completely clueless about what just went down. "Yanma, what happened?" one asked as Runan beamed innocently in the background. Runan flashed a grin so wide it was almost terrifying, a stark contrast to the chaos. "You did this, you little punk!" another bandit snarled, brandishing his axe at the cheerful fellow. Runan's hand twitched ready for round two as the bandit sputtered in disbelief. Before anyone could blink, Runan landed another perfectly aimed strike, sending the second bandit flying. Now 2 bandits were down for the count, courtesy of the surprisingly capable Runan. The remaining outlaws were frozen, a chorus of question marks hanging over their stunned faces. Runan stood triumphant, his cheerful demeanor now radiating an unexpectedly intimidating aura. The bandit leader, utterly enraged, screamed for his men to finish off the surprisingly strong Runan. He lunged forward, knife flashing, aiming a vicious strike at the cheerful fellow. But Runan ducked, and the bandit leader's wild kick only grazed him, sending him tumbling. The bandit leader glared fiercely, while Runan hit the dirt, a look of surprise on his face. Sprawled on the ground, Runan reached out, momentarily vulnerable. Another bandit seized the chance, bringing his axe down in a brutal arc towards the downed Runan. With surprising agility, Runan rolled aside the axe, thudding harmlessly into the earth. From the bushes, Lucastian watched the unfolding chaos, his expression one of utter disbelief. Now armed with a fallen bandit's axe, Runan glared up, a dangerous glint in his eyes. With a powerful spin, he unleashed a devastating counterattack, axe meeting its mark. The bandit leader, disarmed and defeated, stared in disbelief from the ground, his eyes widening in sudden horrified realization as he processed Runan's true strength. Runan unleashed a flurry of strikes, effortlessly neutralizing the remaining ruffians, one even begging for his life. Rayon, stunned, admitted Runan's fierce expression momentarily made him forget the danger. The shocking truth revealed Runan, with a terrifying red aura, was once an arena champion. The last few bandits scattered in pure terror, screaming as they tried to escape Runan's wrath. Runan turned to Rayon, a blood-splattered yet still disturbingly cheerful grin plastered on his face. Rayon watched the carnage, utterly dumbfounded. He took down armed robbers barehanded. How is this real? He then recalled Runan also single-handedly besting a royal knight again with nothing but his fists. A massive question mark hung over Rayon's head as he tried to comprehend Runan's unbelievable power. Rayon spotted a crumpled paper near a downed bandit. A wanted poster, he wondered. He picked it up, revealing an arrest notice for the exile clowns, notorious for serious crimes. Rayon gasped, his eyes locking onto the reward section. Turning to his oblivious companion, Rayon revealed, "Runan, these guys were exile clowns." Runan, ever the picture of innocence, tilted his head and asked, "What's that?" Rayon explained grimly. "They're the largest criminal organization spread throughout the kingdom. Their nefarious influence has reached the kingdom's center, prompting the king to issue a hefty bounty." Rayon's eyes gleamed as he reread the poster. "But this bounty is quite substantial." A cunning plan sparked in Wilhelm's mind. "If we tie these guys up and report them, we could get the money." Kestis, still processing the whirlwind of events, simply echoed, "Bounty." Wilhelm's grand plan hit a snag. The official declared, "Slaves cannot receive bounty payments." Ever-loyal Wilhelm argued, "He's my friend, I can vouch for him." But the official remained skeptical. "That doesn't change his status," the stern official retorted, unmoved by Wilhelm's plea. Quick-thinking Wilhelm proposed, "Then I'll put it in my name," and the official grudgingly agreed. The paperwork was signed, sealed, and delivered. Wilhelm was officially the captor of the exiled clowns. Ka-ching. A hefty pouch of coins, the hard-earned bounty, changed hands. Wilhelm handed Cestus the reward, advising, "Stop gathering mushrooms and buy some real food." Kestis, clutching the money bag with a fanged grin, innocently asked, "But how do I buy things with this?" Realizing Cestus's complete cluelessness, Wilhelm offered, "Then let's go together next time. I'll teach you." Cestus beamed, absolutely delighted. That would be great. Ready for his shopping lesson. Wilhelm and Cestus chatted under the stars, with Cestus admitting this was his first taste of life outside the arena. As they parted, Wilhelm pointed to his house, suggesting they meet again when Cestus was free. Cestus waved goodbye with a huge grin, eagerly agreeing to their next meeting. Wilhelm watched Cestus go, a thoughtful, almost gentle smile on his face. His smile faded slightly as he looked down, a hint of contemplation in his eyes. Wilhelm let out a heavy sigh, the weight of his own situation returning. The next morning arrived, and it was the day of Wilhelm's expulsion verdict. In a grand hall, Wilhelm's parents looked on anxiously. His mother recalled him saying there were no injuries. Meanwhile, the noble lad Wilhelm had assaulted sat with his parents sporting a rather dramatic head bandage. A stern official announced, "Wilhelm will now receive his judgment." As Wilhelm awaited his fate, the official declared, "At the end of a fair trial, I will now pronounce the verdict. Wilhelm assaulted a fellow student. He deserves to be punished accordingly." He paused dramatically. However, Wilhelm was utterly baffled as a medal was pinned to his chest for his merit in defeating members of the kingdom's greatest evil. His parents stared completely bewildered by this unexpected turn of events. The bandaged noble and his family were equally stunned, the lad sputtering, "What?" The official announced that by the king's order, Wilhelm's courage meant his crimes were forgiven and he would get another chance. "That's impossible," seethed the bandaged noble, utterly incensed by the royal pardon. He glared, convinced his parents must have used money. His internal monologue continued, accusing them of buying their commoner son's way into a top university spot. As Wilhelm's parents looked on with concern, the noble scoffed, removing his fake bandage. "I was planning to get rid of him completely." Flashback. The previous night, before Kestis even crossed paths with Wilhelm, he had tossed and turned, unable to sleep due to a mysterious agonizing pain. It felt like countless needles were stabbing his insides, a torment he couldn't understand. Hours passed, but the pain lingered, forcing Kestis to seek its source. His body tensed, he innocently wondered, "Am I hungry? Maybe I should find something to eat." But it wasn't hunger. His arena-forged body craved action, restless in this new peaceful life. Then came the bandit brawl, that glorious release. His body finally found stability again. And so, Kestis woke up today feeling incredibly refreshed, a fanged grin on his face. Best sleep since leaving the arena. He stretched contentedly by the window, basking in the morning sun. Finally at ease, Kestis burst in cheerfully, announcing his return, but found only an empty space and a lingering question. Elsewhere, a young woman named Winnie warmly reunited with her grandmother, while an older man observed their tender moment. The man then inquired about the little one they were expecting, and Winnie confirmed he was inside. She revealed a charming wooden bird, a thoughtful gift to help the newcomer feel at ease. With gentle anticipation, she called out, "Little one." Expecting a child, she was met instead by Kestis, a towering figure with a fanged, almost unsettlingly wide grin. Winnie's eyes widened, her welcoming gift slipping from her grasp as she beheld this unexpected little one. The small wooden bird tumbled to the dusty ground, forgotten in the sudden shock. Utterly bewildered, Winnie stammered, "Who?" A bead of sweat traced her temple as a horrifying realization dawned on her. This giant grinning man must be the child they were told about. With a fanged grin and a cheerful wave, the giant introduced himself. "I'm Kestis." The scene shifted to a quaint farmhouse, the new, albeit temporary home for our gentle giant. Inside, Winnie whispered urgently to her grandfather, "He's from the arena, that's terrifying." The grandfather, ever the pragmatist, calmly suggested, "Let's just observe him a bit longer." He added thoughtfully, "From what I've seen, he actually seems like a decent fellow." Peeking through the window, the grandfather noted, "And look, he's making grandmother smile like she hasn't in ages." Indeed, outside, Kestis shared a hearty laugh with the beaming grandmother, blissfully unaware of the scrutiny. "One thing's for sure," the grandfather remarked. "He's the most cheerful soul we've had around here lately." A satisfied smile spread across his face. "Plus, the lad's a surprisingly good worker." True to his word, Kestis effortlessly hoisted a heavy barrel, asking the grandmother for directions with his signature grin. The grandfather, relieved, admitted his aching back had kept him from storage duty. While Winnie still seemed a tad uneasy, she pursed her lips for a moment, her expression thoughtful as she processed this new farmhand. The clear blue sky hinted at a day of hard work ahead. A sturdy log sat on the chopping block, an axe resting nearby. Gripping the axe, Winnie muttered, "I could have handled this myself. No slave needed." With a mighty crack, a log split cleanly in two, showcasing her serious chopping power. She swung the axe with determination, sending wood chips flying as she tackled the pile. While she toiled away, Kestis effortlessly strolled by, hauling 2 massive water buckets. Pausing her work, she spotted him and asked, a little surprised, "You fetched water already?" Kestis beamed, his fanged grin wide. "Yep, your bath water is ready." Winnie, still a bit wary, told him, "If you're done, take a rest. I'll chop all the firewood." Kestis, ever agreeable, flashed his signature fanged grin and chirped, "Okay." He set down the massive water buckets by the well, then plopped himself down on the grass, ready to spectate with a cheerful expression. Confused, Winnie turned. "Why are you still here? I told you to rest." "I want to watch and learn," Kestis declared, his wide eyes and fanged smile beaming. "It's going to be my job from now on." A hint of a smile played on her lips as she thought, "That's a good attitude." Impressed by his eagerness, she said, "All right, watch and learn well." Gripping her axe handle with renewed purpose, she swiftly tied back her blonde hair, her blue eyes focused, ready to demonstrate her wood-chopping prowess. With a mighty swing and a satisfying crack, she split a thick log. Tiny wood splinters danced through the air, a testament to her powerful strike. She continued her demonstration, axe-meeting wood with practiced ease as Kestis watched intently. A moment of silence hung between them, her focus absolute, his gaze unwavering. "Kindling is key," she explained, pointing emphatically. "Got it." Kestis eagerly absorbed the lesson. With a determined grimace, she hoisted the axe again, channeling all her strength for the next blow. Wham! The axe bit deep, cleaving another log with impressive force. A triumphant, almost smug smile lit up her face. She knew she was good. Kestis's eyes sparkled with admiration, his fanged grin wider than ever at her display. "See that precision?" she boasted, gesturing to her handiwork, while Kestis cheered his enthusiastic approval. As she chuckled, Kestis applauded her skill. The grandfather, quietly observing their growing rapport, mused with a knowing smile. Despite what Winnie says, it seems like she's getting along with him just fine. Just then, grandmother approached, telling Winnie, "Oh, Winnie, you don't need to chop firewood." Winnie mid-chop turned in surprise. "What? But isn't this pile enough? Kestis chopped it all last night," grandmother revealed, gesturing to a mountain of wood. "There's plenty in the back." Winnie stared, utterly baffled, as Kestis was now attempting to chop wood himself in the distance. She marched over to him, demanding, "Didn't you just say you wanted to watch and learn?" Kestis, ever cheerful, explained, "I tried chopping for the first time yesterday, but my shoulders hurt a bit. I wanted to see the proper form." Winnie exploded. "It's normal for it to hurt when you chop that much, and if you'd already done so much, you should have told me earlier. Hey, why do you keep smiling? Are you mocking me?" Winnie fumed as grandmother gently told Kestis, "You've worked hard. Go rest now." As grandmother thanked Kestis, Winnie crossed her arms with a frustrated, clearly outmaneuvered. Later, steam filled the cozy farmhouse interior, hinting at a well-deserved soak. Winnie relaxed in the bath, admitting, "Still, it's definitely nice to have one more person in the house." She sank deeper, musing, "With no chores left, the house feels much more comfortable now." Drying off, Winnie sighed. Phew, all dried. Peeking out the window, a sudden movement caught her eye, a questioning look on her face. Through the window, she spotted Runan striding away from the farm as dusk settled. "It's going to get dark soon," Winnie fretted. "Where is he going? Rushing to her grandparents?" she asked. "Runan, did he go out?" While they expressed surprise, grandmother thoughtfully recalled, "I did tell him to live freely except during work hours." Grandfather piped up, "Pretty sure he slipped out last night as well, dear." Winnie, ever the worrier, frowned. What on earth is he doing out so late? Meanwhile, Runan clutched a pouch that jingled with mysterious contents. He arrived at a wooden door, rapping gently with his knuckles. "Rayon!" Runan called out, his fanged smile as bright as ever. The door creaked ajar and a tiny face peeked out from the shadows. Runan, ever so slightly puzzled, peered down at the unexpected greeter. "Who is it?" A small, curious voice chirped from behind the door. "A man." Rayon appeared, ushering the child inside before telling Runan, "Brother, I'm stepping out for a moment, okay?" The little girl, now in Rayon's arms, gazed up, demanding, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to the library," he reassured her. "The library? So is that brother a library friend?" she whispered. He smoothly agreed. "Yes, that's right." As the girl waved them off, Rayon told her, "Yes, be good." While Runan beamed, a slightly surprised, Rayon told him, "I didn't expect you to come so quickly." Runan, ever cheerful, innocently asked, "Is it okay for you to come out?" "Of course it is," Rayon declared with a confident, almost sly smile. "Besides, you saved my life. Anything is fine," he exclaimed, leaving Runan utterly bewildered. "I'll tell you on the way," Rayon offered. "Let's hurry. You want to go to the market, right?" "No, I want to go here," Runan announced, brandishing an arrest notice for a dangerous iron giant. Rayon's eyes widened in sheer confusion, a silent question mark hanging in the air. He stared dumbfounded as Runan revealed a handful of wanted posters. "I want to fight these guys," Runan grinned. "But my reading skills, not so hot. Help a fella out." "You want to go bounty hunting?" Rayon clarified, and Runan eagerly offered a 50-50 split even for past deeds. It turned out Rayon wasn't just grateful. Runan's unique fighting style had seriously impressed him. For Runan, these matches were a way to ease his nightly pain and a perfectly legal outlet for his enthusiasm. And so their nightly rendezvous began, a dynamic duo of bounty hunters under the cloak of darkness. "Think we'll snag one tonight?" Runan wondered, perched on a cart with their latest, very subdued acquisition. Back at the bounty board, Runan cheerfully grabbed fresh posters while a guard enjoyed a well-deserved nap. But at Rayon's home, his little sister eyed him suspiciously.
"Off to the library again, big brother. He never plays anymore,"
she wailed as Rayon made a hasty exit, promising his return amidst the tiny tantrum. Back at the farmhouse, Winnie and her grandfather shared a moment of silent concern. Meanwhile, a curious paper bird and a lone spoon sat innocently on a windowsill. Winnie, investigating Runan's room, uncovered something hidden beneath his bedding. What is this? Jackpot? Or rather, a hefty sack overflowing with coins was revealed. Holding the loot, a bewildered Winnie demanded, "What on earth is he doing every night?" Elsewhere in a hidden cave, treasure chests brimmed with similar bags of ill-gotten gains. A formidable armored figure, the infamous Iron Giant, stood guard in his dimly lit lair. The aftermath of a fierce confrontation, defeated knights littered the ground around the victorious giant. "These days there are too many guards because of the exile clowns," the Iron Giant grumbled. "Soldiers used to ignore me, but the kingdom's atmosphere seems different," he scoffed. "With bounties now offered, even flies are gathering at my doorstep." Approaching their target, Runan nervously cleared his throat, wanted poster clutched tight. "Raon, you did it. You really found him." Runan beamed, completely missing Rayon's horrified expression. A chilling realization hit Rayon, his instincts screaming, "Something's wrong. I sought the lowest bounty, so why are we facing this absolute monster?" Amidst a scene of prior defeat, the giant, unimpressed by the newcomers, advised these rookies to simply leave. He claimed his bounty was merely nominal, a token gesture due to recent exile clown activities. "Placed nominally?" Rayon paled. "So you've been getting away with being a criminal all this time?" His eyes darted to the defeated knights. "Because they couldn't catch you." "Ah, I see." Rayon stammered, already backing away. "Then we'll be going." Rayon tried to wave off the encounter, but a blur of green signaled it was already too late. Renan, ever the enthusiast, launched himself feet first at the Iron Giant's imposing shield. The giant effortlessly parried the attack, sending a shockwave through the air. Renan hit the deck, but the Iron Giant remained unimpressed. "Bare hands against me," the giant scoffed. "Bold but utterly foolish." He even mocked the impact. "That knee of yours must be singing a sorry tune." But Runan bounced back up, fanged grin wider than ever, completely ignoring his now noticeable limp. Rayon, witnessing this madness, could only gasp, "Runan, no, this is insane. Let's get out of here." But Runan was already locked onto his new favorite playmate. The Iron Giant, however, had other plans, ominously declaring, "It's far too late for retreat." Runan's high kick met the Iron Giant's shield, a classic unstoppable force versus immovable object. "Should have taken the hint, kid." The giant growled mercy officially off the table. He unleashed his mace in a devastating arc, turning Runan into a green blur of evasion. But the mace found its mark. A sickening thud echoed as Runan was struck. He hit the dirt hard, the ground itself groaning from the sheer force of the blow. Astonishingly, Runan attempted to strike the mace mid-swing, still full of reckless fight. Another bone-jarring collision as his desperate defense met raw, overwhelming power. Rayon, meanwhile, was practically a statue of horror on the sidelines watching the brutal exchange. His face screamed the silent realization, "We are so out of our league." Runan was finally down, the giant's mace casting a long, ominous shadow over his still form. "Stop!" Rayon threw himself between the Iron Giant and a downed Runan, a desperate human shield. Runan, dazed on the ground, looked up quizzically as the giant's massive boot loomed nearby. Rayon confessed, "Runan, your fighting in the arena didn't seem cruel to me. It just seemed cool somehow." He continued, "Plus, there was an underlying belief that you would win, which made me want to watch more. And thanks to you catching those exile clowns." Rayon cried, "I was able to go back to school." His voice cracked. "But my thinking was too narrow. This isn't the arena with that underlying belief." Tears streaming, Rayon wailed. "I wanted to watch your matches, not push you toward death. I'm so sorry, I should have looked into it more." The Iron Giant, utterly unmoved, raised his mace to end Rayon's plea. But in a flash of green, Runayan intercepted the blow, shoving Rayon clear of the deadly impact. Cradling a stunned Rayon, Runan grinned. "You really were that kid who came to my arena for the first time." Cradling Rayon, Runan dropped a bombshell with a grin. "This is all an act." Suddenly, Runan was on his feet, delivering a swift kick that sent the giant's mace flying. The Iron Giant actually recoiled a surprised cough, escaping his helmet. Disbelief colored the giant's voice. "Wasn't your body completely shattered?" Runan, now casually holding the giant's mace, turned to a bewildered Rayon. He began to explain, "My former master, Lucastian, had an obsession with strength." As dark energy swirled around the weapon, a flashback revealed countless brutal battles. "Every time I won, he'd find even stronger opponents," Runayan continued.
But because I ended fights too quickly, it wasn't profitable and he got annoyed. Back in the cave, Runan smirked. So I had to pretend to struggle to satisfy the entertainment value, he elaborated, analyzing, provoking, feigning weakness, all to create interesting matches. Runan recalled the clangs of his staged performances, the sounds of feigned struggle. He remembered deliberately making his attacks look less effective, like the impact on the shield. Even faking a limp was part of the act, all to drag out the show for the crowd. With a flick of his wrist, Runan discarded the giant's mace, no longer needing the prop. The heavy weapon thudded twice, landing right at the Iron Giant's feet, a symbol of his sudden disarmament. Runan gave Rayon a cheeky wave as if to say, "See, all part of the plan." The Iron Giant, meanwhile, was floored, his pride and armor equally dented. "I never fought because I liked it." Runan clarified, his smile chillingly genuine now. A grim flashback revealed the brutal truth for Runan: not fighting meant facing unspeakable horrors. "My performative fighting style is now second nature, a deeply ingrained habit," he admitted. "That's why I fight," he declared, a chilling intensity in his eyes, hinting at a darker reason. A flashback showed Runan in another brutal brawl, his fist connecting with an armored foe. Even in memory, his opponent's shield met his attack, a familiar dance of feigned struggle. The past enemy scoffed. "Keep fighting like that, and you won't even be able to scratch me," echoing the giant's earlier taunts. The flashback continued, Runan nimbly evading multiple armored assailants in a chaotic melee, taking a hit, but also landing one, showcasing the brutal give and take of his past. Back in the present, the Iron Giant panted, utterly bewildered by Runan's sudden turnaround. "Something strange," the giant muttered, launching another attack, clearly unsettled by this new Runan. "Wasn't he dying just a moment ago? Why does he seem so relaxed now?" As Runan grinned confidently, the giant's gauntleted fist clenched with a resounding crack, ready for another round. Runan's eyes gleamed with an almost manic energy, his smile widening unsettlingly. The giant lunged his armored fist, aiming to pulverize the suddenly revitalized fighter. Runan dug his heels in a blur of motion as he prepared to meet the charge head-on. Instead of dodging, Runan intercepted the giant's punch with his own weapon, a shocking display of nerve. The impact reverberated as Runan redirected the giant's momentum, spinning him around. He drove his weapon into the giant's side, the armored plating groaning under the focused assault. "Gasp!" Runan noted with surprise. "It won't break." Eyeing the dented but intact armor, he tightened his grip, undeterred, ready to test the limits of that stubborn defense. Runan twisted his weapon, eliciting a full-throated roar from the tormented Iron Giant. Not giving an inch, he followed up with a powerful kick, sending the giant stumbling sideways. The giant's visible eye reflected pure disbelief. This comeback was rewriting his entire battle plan. Capitalizing on the opening, Runan swung his weapon again, a blur of motion aimed at the reeling knight. The attack landed true, the giant clutching his side and spitting out a furious, "You son of a..." Runan's assault continued with a well-aimed kick, buckling the giant's leg and composure. In a flash, he grabbed the giant's helmet, his expression one of chilling determination. Next, he slammed the armored titan face first into the dirt with surprising strength. Runan didn't let up, delivering a decisive stomp to the downed and disoriented giant. Pinned and pummeled, the Iron Giant could only shriek completely at Runan's mercy. Runan yanked the giant's head back, the knight letting out a choked gasp. The giant's helmet was askew, revealing a battered face and utter shock from the relentless assault. Runan's grip on his weapon tightened, a silent promise of more punishment to come. Towering over his foe, Runan paused. The downed giant looked up in dazed confusion, his breath ragged, the fight knocked out of him. With a cheerful grin, Runan observed, "You've got a lot of scratches." Sheer disbelief and exhaustion etched themselves deeper onto the giant's face as he gasped for air. Desperation fueled him as his gauntlet scrabbled, searching for any way to counter. Miraculously, the giant raised his shield, deflecting Runan's incoming strike at the last second. Though still on the defensive, the Iron Giant glared, panting heavily behind his makeshift bulwark. Runan, unfazed by the shield, cracked a confident smile, his fist clenched for the next round. From his hiding spot, Rayon observed the sudden pause, noting, "Both have stopped attacking." Rayon mused that the giant's once imposing armor now seemed like a heavy, stamina-sapping burden. Yet he worried Runan's fierce onslaught wasn't doing enough, questioning if his physique limited his power against the armor. The Iron Giant, meanwhile, planted his shield, firmly digging in for a defensive stand. "I just need to avoid falling," the giant gritted out, determined to weather Runan's storm. He'd figured it out. Runan was targeting his unarmored head, the only way to inflict real harm. Runan glanced back at a panicking Rayon, who was contemplating a tactical retreat. "Rayon!" Runan called out, his voice calm, amidst the tension getting the young man's attention. He then offered a surprisingly sincere thanks for Rayon's earlier protection, but firmly added, "But don't do it again." Runan revealed, "You're the only person who has ever called me a friend."
His concern for Ryon was genuine. Ryon still concealed processed Runan's heartfelt admission in stunned silence. Turning to the giant, Runan vowed to Ryon, "I'll show you here so you can believe in me for sure." Runan's hand reached down, plucking a discarded sharp implement from the battlefield debris. The iron giant shield, still raised, watched Runan move with a puzzled expression. With a chilling grin and glowing eyes, Runan brandished the makeshift shiv, declaring, "I'll show you my full power now." The giant scoffed from behind his defense. "Is a broken spear shaft all you could come up with?" Surveying the littered battlefield, he boasted, "All the weapons here were broken against my armor and shield." He taunted further, "And now you're trying to pierce me with an already broken spear shaft." Runan gripped his new jagged weapon tighter, his unsettling smile suggesting he knew something the giant didn't. He presented his makeshift shiv, its jagged point gleaming with deadly intent. The iron giant stared utterly bewildered by this seemingly insignificant threat. Runan's first thrust with the spear shaft was parried, glancing off the giant's shield. "What are you?" The giant began to mock, still confident behind his defense. Suddenly, the giant's visible eye flared wide with dawning, horrified understanding. Dust exploded from the ground as Runan moved with utterly imperceptible speed. He was inside the giant's guard, the spear fragment driven deep into a gap in the armor. The knight's face contorted in pure, unadulterated shock at this impossible breach. "How?" the giant stammered, feeling the sharp point pierce his defenses. In a blinding flash, Runan used his leverage, twisting the colossal knight off balance. The iron giant's eye widened in agony. The unexpected attack had hit its mark. Pure, unadulterated shock rippled through him as the shiv found purchase. His massive sword clanged uselessly to the ground. Disarmed and reeling, the giant let out a guttural roar of torment as Runan pressed his advantage. With a hand over the giant's face, Runan's eyes blazed with an almost demonic intensity. He whispered a chilling warning. "The more you move, the deeper the pain will be." The once mighty giant could only pant, his battered face a mask of sweat and suffering. Runan applied more pressure, the giant's teeth grinding against the unbearable sensation. Looking down at his broken foe, Runan delivered a simple final command: "Give up." The iron giant trembled, completely overwhelmed by Runan's relentless and brutal efficiency. Runan's hand clenched decisively, the giant's consciousness rapidly fading under the pressure. The colossal knight finally went limp, his massive form slumping forward in utter defeat. With a powerful shove, Runan sent the unconscious giant tumbling dismissively to the ground. Ryon stared aghast, his mind reeling. "This defies common sense. Is this Runan's full power?" Runan turned from his fallen foe, his hand marked by the encounter. Now facing a stunned Ryon, a wide, almost unnerving smile spread across his face. Ryon could only gulp, a bead of sweat tracing his temple at the overwhelming display. Runan's bright, intense eyes locked onto Ryon, a silent moment passing between them. "He's not dead," Runan cheerfully clarified to a shocked Ryon. "He just passed out from the pain." Surveying the field of fallen knights, he casually remarked, "It's not very good, is it? This isn't a proper match." With a marked hand, Runan told Ryon, "My former master hated fights like this too." Ryon, beaming, insisted, "No, it was a really amazing match. Besides, we caught a dangerous criminal." With a thumbs up, Ryon declared, "Like you said, I don't need to worry about you in a fight at all. I'll trust you completely now." Runan cracked a wide, innocent smile, simply replying, "Sure." As Ryon turned, Runan, already by his basket, asked, "So, we're done here? Oh, shall we go right away?" "No, I haven't slept for days, so I'll sleep a little here," Runan announced, plopping down, leaving Ryon to exclaim, "Here." Runan, already dozing off, murmured, "I was actually very sleepy even while fighting. Please take care of the cleanup." Ryon stared, a single question mark popping into his mind at this sudden turn of events. Peeking down, he confirmed with disbelief, "He really fell asleep." Surrounded by the aftermath, Ryon wondered, "What should I do? Should I leave him here and go report this?" His eyes darted around, a sudden realization dawning on his face. His gaze fell upon the discarded spear shaft now lying innocently on the battlefield. Ryon cautiously picked up the makeshift weapon, its tip bearing telltale marks. "Wait," he mused. "If the spear was a feint, what did Runan actually use?" He glanced at the unconscious giant, a new question forming. "Is the real weapon still lodged in him?" A beat of silence passed as Ryon connected the dots, his expression shifting. With a grunt, he strained, attempting to retrieve something from a gap in the giant's armor. "Got it!" he exclaimed finally, yanking free a different, sleeker blade. "This guy's a ton. How did Runan even manage?" Clutching the newly discovered weapon, Ryon sweated, deciding, "Right, I need to report this fast." Just as he resolved to leave, a troop of torch-bearing knights emerged from the shadowy woods. Ryon, clutching the hidden blade, was utterly baffled by the sudden appearance of more knights. The torch-bearing troop stared equally confused by the chaotic scene before them. Their grizzled leader stepped forward, his sharp eyes surveying the battlefield with a questioning gaze. His attention was drawn to the fallen iron giant, specifically the fresh mark of a precise strike. The veteran knight's eyes narrowed, focusing intently on the details of the takedown. All eyes seemed to fix on the sleek weapon in Ryon's trembling hand, now highlighted ominously. Suddenly, one of the arriving knights pointed an accusatory finger, shouting, "You caught the wanted criminal!" Ryon's jaw dropped, his mind reeling from this completely unexpected accusation. The knight explained his unit was nearly wiped out, and he'd seen Ryon with a wanted poster earlier. "So you were a bounty hunter after all?" the knight exclaimed, a triumphant grin on his face. The knight captain demanded, "What is your name?" as Ryon stammered, "I'm Ryon." Another knight exclaimed, "Could you be that university student who recently caught the exile clown group?" The knights buzzed. He won with a broken spear shaft. His fighting skills are amazing, just as rumored. "Rumors?" Ryon asked, sweating, as the leader confirmed. "Yes, there are some rumors in the Knight Order." A flashback revealed the rumor Ryon, the university student bounty hunter, calling the exile clowns, "my snack." "Haha." Ryon recoiled in horror, clutching the blade. "Such rumors are spreading," the leader reassured him. "From now on, please leave the scene and this guy's bounty processing to us." As Runan snoozed nearby, he offered, "Let's go. I'll escort you to the edge of the forest," leading a bewildered Ryon away. The grizzled leader glanced back. "Oh my, it seems the porter got caught up in the fight too," he said, spotting the sleeping Runan. A subordinate knight asked, "Captain, what's wrong?" As the leader stared intently, a thoughtful expression on his face. The captain scrutinized the spear. "This isn't a stab wound. No blood on the tip, just splatter." He surveyed the scattered weapons, declaring, "None of these blades actually pierced him." The captain's brow furrowed. Then what exactly was he struck with? His gaze then fell upon Runan's sleeping form, specifically his deeply marked and discolored hand. As a knight carried the snoozing Runan, the captain remarked, "The porter seems badly injured." But Ryon clarified, Yes, he's just sleeping." The captain, now holding the sleek blade, mused, "Ryon, huh? A student who caught the exile clowns alone, full of inconsistencies." A flashback revealed the defeated exile clowns bound and kneeling before a shadowy figure. One of the clowns, battered and terrified, stared up in utter despair. Their scarred leader, clutching a small dagger, defiantly stated, "We've been abandoned once. We swore not to run again." He continued, his voice laced with bitterness. "But you knelt to nobles and suffered defeat by a mere student." The battered leader, utterly broken, stammered, I'm sorry." His crew was swiftly dispatched by an unseen force, leaving him kneeling amidst the chaos. "Such shame is enough once," he muttered, clutching his dagger, a spark of defiance in his defeat. He proclaimed their creed, "Remember, we are exile clowns who fight the kingdom until death." A haunting image revealed a legion of cloaked figures with glowing red eyes, the true face of the clowns' rebellion. Cutting from the past, a steely woman asked her associate, "So did you find out who that guy is?" He confirmed, "I did. He's Ryon, a skilled hobbyist bounty hunter according to the lists." Her companion declared ominously, "Then our next target is Ryon." As a grim scene unfolded behind them, dark water gushed from sewer grates, one disturbingly stained, hinting at their brutal efficiency. Meanwhile, a sophisticated man sipped tea, coolly inquiring, "So which noble family does this student belong to?" His son fumed. "That bastard bought his way in. This bounty hunting must be a sham too." The sophisticated man raised an eyebrow, a chillingly calm, "Is that so?" on his lips. He then handed his son a mysterious scroll. "Then you can personally show him what happens when someone shames us." "What? What is this, father?" the son stammered, eyeing the Brian's Covenant with its unsettling terms. "It's an armed group our family uses for delicate matters," the father coolly explained. "Consider this an early lesson." With a steely gaze, he ordered, "Tell them to find Ryon at this address and take care of him." In a sun-drenched town, a young woman, Winnie, strolled peacefully carrying a basket of fresh apples. Suddenly, her eyes widened in alarm as she sensed trouble. The idyllic scene shattered as two figures lay fallen, a lone green apple rolling away from the chaos. An unsettling quiet descended upon the once peaceful village, now hinting at a grim turn of events. An old gravedigger, Sagaru, and his apprentice, Ryon, as Cigar, surveyed a grim morning's work, 3 bodies discovered on the kingdom streets. The apprentice questioned the lack of an autopsy, suspecting the case was hastily closed despite clear signs of foul play. Sagaru sighed clearly, troubled by his apprentice's persistent curiosity. He reminded him how his sense of justice nearly got them imprisoned after the arena incident. "They were just clowns," Sagaru muttered, digging.
No one mourns them. Most will cheer their demise. The apprentice, unconvinced, glanced back, a seed of doubt firmly planted. Something else about this situation didn't sit right. He recalled the bodies bore old bruises inflicted days before their final moments. These markings eerily resembled those on the victims from the recent arena incident, a disturbing pattern emerging. Suddenly, a cheerful young woman arrived, calling out to Grandpa Shovel, oblivious to the grim undertones. Winnie arrived with a bag announcing, "I've brought all the herbs you asked for." Sagaru greeted her warmly. "Ah, Winnie, you've worked hard. Is that old man of yours still kicking?" "He's so carefree, I swear I'll croak before he does." Sagaru grumbled as Winnie just laughed it off. Spotting the apprentice, Winnie beamed, "Hello to you too, Sagaru's apprentice." The apprentice, still looking a bit grim, offered a polite, "Yes, hello. I brought some herbs for you too. I'll just leave them here," Winnie said, much to his surprise. Seeing his reaction, she tilted her head. "Why, you don't want them?" The apprentice stammered. "No, I'm always grateful. Thank you." As Winnie gave a kind smile, Sagaru sighed. "Winnie, you're too nice for your own good. You should be charging for these things." Winnie, ever so sweet, explained, "He helps Grandpa Shovel so much, of course I'd look out for him too." She then remarked to Sagaru, "Previous assistants barely lasted a week, but this one's been here over a month. You must actually like him." Sagaru grumbled, "He's a good worker, sure, but clueless and always sneaking off at night." Winnie hesitated, a thoughtful, "Ah," escaping her lips, catching Sagaru's attention. "What is it?" he pressed, sensing her unease. Winnie leaned in, her voice dropping. "Actually, at our place we also—" "What?" Sagaru exclaimed, shocked. "You took in an indentured servant," Winnie confided. "Yes, but he's suspicious. Always out at night and a mysterious stash of coins under his bedding." Her brow furrowed. "And what truly bothers me is that he's a former arena fighter." "I just hope," Winnie whispered, "he's not caught up in something dangerous." The apprentice revealed the city's only arena recently vanished and its fighters were all taken care of. Winnie, shocked, blurted out, "What? But I'm sure he was an arena fighter." He elaborated, "Those arena fighters were all either prisoners or notorious criminals. If a nameless, familyless criminal survived," he continued, "it's because they had serious backing." The apprentice added grimly, "Backing so strong even the king's orders couldn't touch them." He then warned Winnie, "Your grandmother might have brought a very dangerous person into your home." Winnie, now truly concerned, asked, "Could you look into it? I'll find his papers tonight and come back tomorrow." As Winnie departed, a sense of unease lingered between Sagaru and his apprentice. Sagaru glared. "I'm telling you, apprentice, stick your nose everywhere, and you'll meet a blade before the truth." The apprentice, clutching Winnie's herbs, simply stated, "I just hope there are still good people left in this world." Night descended. Under the crescent moon, Rayon arrived at the farmhouse carrying an injured and unconscious Runan. He called Runan's name, noting he must have endured sleepless nights to be so utterly spent. He carried him towards the lone house, its windows faintly glowing in the darkness. Reaching the door, Rayon called out a polite, "Is anyone home?" Inside, Winnie and her grandparents were startled as Rayon entered, Runan still on his back. Near papers detailing slave ownership, Winnie and her grandmother gasped, their eyes fixed on Runan's injured hand and disheveled state. "Oh my, what happened?" the grandmother cried, as Rayon insisted, "He just fainted, please don't misunderstand." A warm fire crackled inside, a stark contrast to the chilling tale about to unfold. Winnie, astonished, asked Rayon, "You two were bounty hunting together every night?" Rayon, a bit hesitant, began his explanation. "Yes, it all started like this." As Runan slept soundly nearby, Rayon recounted everything he knew about the boy's troubled past. He revealed Runan had spent his entire life in the brutal arena, suffering from facial nerve damage. Flashbacks showed the intense hardships Runan endured, shaping his unusual demeanor. Rayon explained the constant torment left Runan unable to sleep, forcing him into a life of conflict. Rayon meticulously laid out Runan's complex history, leaving no stone unturned for the concerned family. Hearing the heartbreaking story, Winnie's grandmother couldn't hold back her tears. The grandfather, meanwhile, listened in stoic silence, his expression unreadable. Winnie's long-held suspicions about Runan finally began to melt away. Rayon concluded his tale, revealing Runan as his unlikely savior, leaving the family in stunned silence. After a polite bow, Rayon departed into the night, leaving them to process the shocking revelations. The damning slave ownership papers bearing Runan's name lay starkly by the flickering firelight. Dawn broke over the quiet farmhouse. Miraculously, Runan awakened, looking bright-eyed and surprisingly cheerful, a stark contrast to his ordeal. His innocent wide eyes sparkled, holding no trace of the horrors he had endured. Winnie approached the still beaming Runan, a gentle question forming on her lips. "Why?
Winnie asked softly. Didn't you tell us about the pain that kept you from sleeping and forced you to work? Runan, still in bed, offered a wide, toothy grin, a silent question hanging in the air. Winnie looked down, her voice laced with regret. Why didn't you tell us? We kept misunderstanding you. He explained with chilling simplicity. If I'm useless, I'll be discarded. That's how it was in the arena. Winnie clenched her fist. You silly boy. This isn't the arena. We don't see you as just a slave. A reflection showed the grandmother's caring gaze. Winnie added, Grandma already sees you as family. She stood over him, vowing, I'll make sure you're healed so no more fighting, understand? She continued, her resolve firm. Our family will help you live a normal life. As Runan listened, speechless, Winnie extended a hand towards him, declaring, I didn't become an herbalist for nothing, you know. With a confident smile, she urged, Trust me. I promise I'll heal you. Hope flickered in Runan's wide eyes as he looked up at Winnie's outstretched hand. Beaming, Runan took her offered hand, simply saying, Yes. His eyes wide and innocent, fixed on her hand as a mischievous thought seemed to spark. Oh, this, Runan exclaimed. I bought it with my first earnings. Puzzled, Winnie asked, What is it? Before she could react, Runan smoothly slipped a sparkling ring onto her finger. Winnie absolutely lost it, stammering, What? What do you think you're doing? Oblivious. Runan just grinned wider, innocently asking, Why? Staring at her newly adorned hand, Winnie practically shrieked, Why, this is a wedding ring, you goof! Runan, bless his heart, tilted his head. A what now? Leaving Winnie to splutter. It's... Well... Just then, Grandpa entered holding a hefty bag. Runan, your friend Rayon dropped off the bounty money this morning. Runan, still grinning, told his grandfather, You can have it all. I'm not fighting anymore. She's going to heal me. Grandpa pulled Runan into a fierce hug, declaring, That's right, our grandson, our lucky charm. Still embracing the boy, Grandpa assured a teary-eyed Winnie, All right then, Grandpa will put this money to good use. Winnie watched the heartwarming scene, a soft, understanding smile gracing her lips. The grandmother appeared, her hands clasped, a gentle, knowing look on her face. Beaming, Runan presented rings to his equally stunned grandparents, exclaiming, Grandma, Grandpa presents... Pure innocence shone from him. Winnie reflected, Now I finally get why Grandma called Runan, this child, when she first brought him home. A note from Winnie addressed to Cigar appeared. The misunderstanding is cleared. No need to investigate further. Have a good day. Rayon, lounging on a rooftop, read Winnie's note with contemplative silence. Suddenly, the well-dressed young man approached, offering, I said I'm sorry. Let's go get something to eat. Rayon, thoroughly unimpressed, retorted, Aren't we less than strangers now? Just go your own way. The well-dressed man dramatically dropped to his knees, begging, Please, I'm truly sorry. Just one chance to earn your forgiveness. Rayon stared down, a silent beat betraying his surprise at this sudden, desperate plea. All right, get up, Rayon conceded. Forget the meal, but we can talk for a bit. As they walked off, the young man murmured, Thank you, while an older man on a bench observed their departure, thinking with disdain, What a truly pathetic performance. His companion dabbed at faked tears, prompting Rayon to mutter, You absolute deceiver. Rayon eyed him with clear suspicion as the man insisted, I'm sorry. This time I'm truly sincere. A question mark hanging over the claim. In a shocking turn, the apology became an attack as the young man violently shoved Rayon off the edge. Rayon plummeted downwards, a stunning act of treachery, crashing towards the ground with a brutal thud. He was down, but not quite out, shock warring with agony on his face. Suddenly, 3 shadowy figures scooped up the dazed Rayon, their intentions unclear. Who are you? Rayon managed his voice raspy and weak. Oblivious to Rayon's dire predicament, Winnie stepped out from a nearby building as a man in red approached. Rayon was then roughly tossed into a dim, unfamiliar room by his new captors. Sprawled on the floor, pained, Rayon gasped out a single desperate, Why? One of the brutes loomed over him, fist raised, ready to deliver another harsh lesson. Enough! Rayon pleaded weakly, his battered face a testament to their cruelty. Dragged away by his captors, Rayon's fate hung precariously in the balance. The well-dressed man oversaw the grim procession. His bloodied hands scraped against the grimy floor, a stark testament to the brutal betrayal. Gasping for air, Rayon's battered face revealed the depth of his suffering and confusion. The well-dressed man sneered, You cur! I've despised you from the very beginning. What? What did I even do wrong? Rayon whispered, only to be told he was the one at fault. Still defiant, he demanded, Why are you so displeased with me? Wasn't framing me enough?
His tormentor landed a vicious kick, roaring, "You insolent fool, daring to overstep your bounds." Catching his breath, the attacker mocked, "Did you truly believe mere hard work would earn you respect?" Grabbing Round's face, he spat, "There's no fairness here, idiot. You should have been born to power." The villain twisted the knife. "Don't you think even your schoolmates detest you, who'd like a nobody like you constantly trying to climb up?" He coldly added, "Everyone will rejoice when they hear you're gone, you pathetic loser." With utter disdain, the villain prepared to add insult to injury, spitting contemptuously towards the fallen Rayon. "In your next life," the villain scoffed, "learn to grovel before you learn to hold a pen." Rayon, utterly broken, could only hang his head in silent despair. Turning to his thugs, the villain commanded, "Take care of him. I'll be outside." His brutes acknowledged the order with a grim, "Yes, master." The well-dressed man then strode out the heavy door, slamming shut behind him. A final chilling look from the villain sealed Rayon's grim immediate future. The villain gripped his own hand, muttering, "Damn, this is nothing to me." He smirked, convinced. This is authority. This is power. It's only natural. Unseen Cigar watched from a rooftop as the villain strolled away from the scene. He narrowed his eyes, realizing, those thugs. They're not just bullies, they're hired killers. Disgust etched Cigar's face as he thought, the methods of these nobles are truly vile. He let out a slow breath, contemplating the grim reality unfolding below a glint of determination in his eyes. I always knew I'd have to deal with those brigands eventually. Cigar mused. I just didn't expect eventually to be today. Drawing twin daggers, he rose. With a decisive step, Cigar set off a silent hunter on the move. He leaped into action, a shadowy figure determined to intervene. With breathtaking speed, he launched himself towards the building, landing inside, a grim expression on his face. Inside, one thug scoffed over Rayon. Thought he was tough. Turns out he's just a kid. How dull. Another goon loomed over Rayon, promising, our boss wants this to be slow and agonizing for you. Rayon battered thought desperately. All my hard work wasn't for this. He gritted his teeth, remembering every struggle that brought him to this cruel moment. To perish like this, all because a noble felt slighted. As Rayon struggled, a thug taunted, What's wrong? At least put up a fight before you go. Defiant even now, Rayon thought, this wasn't my destiny. I was meant to bring change. Utterly defeated, he realized that even noble ideals require status. A small shadowy figure observed him. The mysterious childlike observer with glowing eyes whispered an apology, pleading, Don't look at me like that. Suddenly a formidable woman yanked Rayon's hair, demanding, Are you Rayon? As the thugs stared stunned, the bewildered goons exclaimed, Who is this woman? Where did she even come from? She delivered a sharp wake-up call to Rayon, trying to snap him out of his despair. The newcomer scoffed, doubting a battered boy like him could have dealt with 5 of their exile clowns. She revealed she heard 2 were involved in a past incident, initially suspecting the bounty reporter, not the victim. Now seated, she quizzed Rayon about his supposed accomplice, asking if he was one of the exile clowns. One of the original thugs, fed up with the intrusion, raised his sword with menacing intent. The goons angrily threatened the newcomers, warning them to disappear or face deadly consequences. That sword-happy thug then met the business end of the woman's incredibly persuasive kick. Not to be outdone, Cigar made his grand entrance, turning the remaining goons into yesterday's news with a flash of steel. Rayon, meanwhile, just tried to remember how to breathe as his world turned upside down again. The woman gave Rayon a once-over, smirking, My, you're a spirited little thing. Almost makes me want to put you on display. Her eyes darted around, taking in Cigar's handiwork with a flicker of appreciation. Cigar, ever the cool professional, met her gaze over the now very quiet thugs. The lady said. Clearly unexpected backup wasn't on her bingo card. She turned back to Rayon, all business. All right, Junior. Now that the party crashers are gone, let's talk. From the shadows, Cigar mulled over the million-dollar question, who exactly is this kid? Realizing this particular drama was way above his pay grade, he decided it was prime time for a tactical vanishing act. The woman got uncomfortably close, demanding, So who was with our young master back then? She pressed a blade to Rayon's throat, urging, Spill it, kid, and make it snappy. Her eyes gleamed with deadly intent, a silent promise that his neck was on the line. Rayon recalled the childlike Runayan thanking him for his protection, but warning him against future recklessness. Runan's voice echoed in his mind. You're my only friend. I'd be devastated if you got hurt. Overwhelmed, Rayon's thoughts screamed apologies to Runan as tears streamed down his face. Broken Rayon confessed, Runan, a former fighting arena slave. From the shadows, Cigar absorbed this new intel. Runan now lived on a farm. A memory surfaced of Runan deciding to quit bounty hunting and telling Rayon. In that same memory, Runan crafted a small doll, a gift for my friend.